Hi everyone, welcome back to part 3 of our spring flowering trees project. So this is the third part of the southern magnolia, the Magnolia Grandiflora. So in this part we're going to basically do all the completion of the natural spray. So we're going to start off by taping the leaves, then we're going to then color them. I'm then going to show you about steaming them and glazing the front to create the sort of two-tone effect of the one back side is sort of more matte finish and one is shiny. Then we're going to add a little bit of dust to the bottom of the flower. We're also going to dust the bud. And then once we've completed that, we're going to go on to actually make like the unfurled leaf, which is going to be like the leaf almost when it grows sort of is a bit like a rolled up and then it sort of unfurls. So we're going to do one of those at the top and then we're going to finish off the branch. So let's get started. So we're going to take on the 5 leaves, we're going to take some half-width brown floral tape. So we're just going to go around with our floral tape, half-width tape. I'm going to slide it up to the bottom of the leaf. And then what we're going to do here is going to come down about 4 centimeters. All right, so just about 40 millimeters, about 4 centimeters or so. So about 1.5 inches. Then I'm going to go up and then I'm going to come down. Now in this area here, which is where the leaf makes its stem, meets the stem, we want to just go around a couple of extra times. So in, you know, that you get this sort of thicker, it's almost like a branch coming off of the leaf. So when we come back up, so we're going to come back up to the bottom of the leaf here. And then what I'm going to do there is I'm just going to right at the top where that meets the leaf, I'm just going to go around just a couple of times just to almost like fill in, you see, so you get that nice sort of gradient sort of graduation with the tape, and then I'm going to come down for the 3rd time. Okay, so sort of go, so you're going to come down and then go up, go around a couple of times, they're going to come down. So you see how it's going to sort of make that nice natural looking stem. So, you know, this project, the water lily, the lotus, you know, we've gone to some of those sort of realistic looks. And then using a pair of scissors or some wire cutters, just about halfway down that. Now, you just have to be careful if you're using wire cutters, don't put excessive pressure on because if not, you'll decapitate the leaf. But you see what that's going to do is going to give you this nice texture. You see here, so just going to just use your, just going to texture that. Going to get this nice texture on the bottom of the leaf. It's a little bit like how we do branches. And you continue that on all of the 5 branches, on the 5 leaves. Now we're going to move on to color. Now with air drying clay, this leaf is still, you know, quite flexible. And so, you know, of course, it will become a little firmer. But whereas, of course, sugar ones, you need to make sure they're totally dry. So you can pop that into your, obviously, food dehydrator. You know, when I've taught sugar magnolias in a 2-day class, you know, we make all the components one day and then of course the 2nd day put them together. Whereas with air drying clay, it's possible to do this all during one day. Now we're going to start off by, first of all, taking some chocolate brown. So with chocolate brown, I'm going to put some chocolate brown onto here. This is just full strength chocolate. And we're going to brush this onto the back of the, so we're going to brush this all over the back of the leaf. Of course, you can put gloves on for this if you wish. So just going to just brush this all over the back. And this will give you, and that is also why we don't want to make the chocolate too dark as well. Now that's also why we wouldn't make the leaf just in solid green, front and back, like a normal leaf, because this gives you a lot more scope to be able to sort of, you know, add that color. And you see how it's going to give you that sort of, like I showed the leaves at the beginning of the 2nd episode, the actual leaves, and on the 1st episode. And also remember, when you have young, like a young magnolia, if I was to go and buy a, say, a small magnolia at the garden center, plant center for it to plant in my garden, of course, the leaf's going to be quite young. So they're going to be a little bit brighter, especially the green part of them. Whereas as they get older, they become a darker, more of a mossy green. So they will vary a little bit depending on the age of the tree. So you're going to put that, don't worry if you get a little bit of brown on the edge there, but so you're going to do the brown. You do that on, obviously, on all 5 petals there. And then, so it's best to do all of your brown. So next we're going to take here, going to take actually 3 dusts. And I'm just going to use just, you won't need a lot of this, but I'm going to take a little bit of white and then a little bit of yellow, about a comparable amount. and a little bit of the same colors we used, the yellow and the autumn gold that we used on the center of the flower. So you've got white, yellow, and the autumn gold. And so what happens is that we've done this technique before and talked about this. Having the white in there will make this sort of yellowy color opaque. So we're just going to mix this color up. So this looks very much like a sort of like a Coleman's English mustard. So it's like almost like a sort of dry mustard color. But see, having the white in there, when we dust the stripe on there, it actually will look opaque. So what we're going to do, we're going to use a flat brush, and I'm going to brush down the center. So you're going to start at the bottom here, and you're just going to brush down the center. Pretty much all the way down here with that. All right, so just going to put this here. So this is a little bit like when we did the plumeria leaf. So we used a similar technique to this with white. So of course you do the 5 of those. And of course, if you're mixing this up, you could keep this in a little container. You can buy little tiny containers like this type of container in craft supply stores. You just keep those colors and just write on the top. So you keep those as customized colors, all right? So we have that. And then we're going to, so of course you do that on all 5 of them. Then we're going to take moss green and forest green. Again, I'm going to take equal amounts of these. So again, this is like a 1-to-1 ratio. Remember, in your download, you've got it will show you these colors mixed, but it's just equal amounts of the moss green and the forest green. Just going to mix these together because the moss green is not quite sort of blue enough and dark enough, and then the forest green is a little bit too blue. So we're just going to put these two together. So you're going to get this almost like a bottle green. Think of like a green glass for a wine bottle. Okay. So here, I'm going to just rub this color. So you see I'm using a flat brush, but I'm just rubbing this color on the outside part of the leaf. And I'm almost just sort of brushing down each side of the yellow. So I'm just going to brush down here. I'm going to do this on the other side. So you're going to get this yellowy color there. And then we're also then going to, also with the yellow, I'm just going to put just like a little of that just coming down the back. Just going to do this about halfway down. This will just give like a little bit of shading to the back there, like almost like a little shadow on there, like so. And then taking some brown, I want to put a little bit of brown. And I'm just going to use the brush, and I'm just brushing a little bit of brown, just really more down at the base of the leaf, just right on the edge, but not too far down. You see just a little bit of brown here. So this is will be the darker brown here, like so. So there's going to be a color on your leaves, okay? Now, once you get that color on the leaves, you are just going to use, because I'm using the same colors, and then we'll come back to those in a moment, all right? And we're also going to use the same color green. So this is going to go all over your bud. So you're going to brush this all over your bud. You're going to use almost like a sort of a scrubbing action. Because air drying clay is a little bit like sugar. It's a little porous. So you're just going to brush this over the top here like so. So you can do this. It's going to come into the... Now, of course, with air drying clay, you can also use acrylic paints, so again, with certain techniques. I generally, most of the time, use dusts because I find it just sort of emulates a more natural look. But as I said, you could totally use acrylic paints. People use, of course, like on cold porcelain, use oil paints, so there's lots of different ways of doing. And then with your brown, we're going to go over the top of this. So we're going to go over the top of the green. So you do the green first, and then you're going to go over the top of that with your brown. And see, it's going to give you that nice, if you remember in the first part, I showed you the photograph of the bud. So you have this sort of greeny brown color, almost really a little bit like the sort of color of the back of the leaf, but a little bit of green, more green in there. So you're just going to get this nice color onto your bud. Okay. And then we're also going to put a little bit of chocolate just on the back of the flower. Remember, we use the pale chocolate. So here I'm going to just take some full strength chocolate here. I'm just going to put a little bit of that chocolate just right at the bottom of the flower as well. Okay. So I'm just going to move these colors out of the way for a second. I'm going to come back. I'm going to be using the brown and the green. So I'm going to come back to those in a moment. So I'm just going to put these to one side. Now, next step is going to be to, again, and with doing quite a lot of spraying with hairspray, usually I prefer to do that just outside, you know, so if you have access to obviously just go out your garden or whatever. But as I said, if not, just sort of do it into a box. So we're going to put so I'm just going to just spray this off of camera because it doesn't get on the camera lens. So I'm just going to spray my leaf all over gently. Now on the back of the leaf, we do that quite gently on the back, all right? Because remember, we don't want to really make that shiny. So we're just going to just gently spray that over the back of the leaf and then over the front of the leaf as well. All right, so you're just going to do enough to sort of hit that, and it will have that sort of, because of that yellowy color in the middle, you have that nice color. Because remember, that's like almost like velvety, so it's dry, it's sort of dry, it's not shiny. And this is one of very few leaves where we would only put the glaze on the front. Now, so once we've done that, we're then going to take, I'm using here the Sculpey product we've talked about before. This is a Sculpey satin glaze. And this is what I like to use for leaves. Personally, I find this a little bit more user-friendly than using some of the spray varnishes. And like the one we use for sugar, like the PME one, it doesn't really work so well on the air drying clay. So we're just going to just take this, and this is water soluble, so just clean your brush up. So then you're just going to brush this on, and when it goes on opaque. You see it's almost going to have like a sort of a white milky look. Looks almost like you're brushing milk over your leaf here. So like if you leave these were made earlier today, so obviously they're still soft. By tomorrow they will be a little firmer. Just going to put that over the top of the leaf here. And just make sure you only brush that on the top of the leaf. So you see the back of the leaf will have this sort of matte velvety look, and then you have the nice shine on the front of the leaf. And of course that, and this is with the satin one, which is the one I prefer for foliage, for leaves. And then of course you need to, obviously when you finish that, and I generally just put a little bit onto a disposable dish, and then you're just going to rinse that out, and that will be your magnolia leaves, all right? And they just need to dry a few minutes. So when I come back, I'm going to show you how we start finishing things off. So for the final assembly, we're going to take, we need 5 18-gauge wires. This will be the same for sugar or for air drying clay. This is going to be our main stem. We're going to use some full width white floral tape. And what we're going to do here is we're going to actually start off at the end of the tape, all right, like here. And then we're going to come down about 5 centimeters, 2 inches, go up, down, up, so 8 times, all right? So we start off at the end here. Now I'm starting off just a little bit past the end of the wire, all right? So just a little bit past the end of the wire. So then we're going to come down. This is very much like when we made the, for the center. So we're going to come about 5 centimeters. All right, then we're going to go up 2. Just coming past the end, because what we ultimately want is we want a sort of a pointed top to this. So we're going to come up 2, down 3, up 4, just again come past the end, down 5, 6, 7, and 8. All right, I'm just gonna pinch that off at the end here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to, that end part there, I'm just rolling between my fingers. So I'm going to make it a little bit pointed. You can see it's a little bit pointed on the end there. You can just roll it on the table like so. All right, and I'm just going to just curve it very, very slightly. Now in a magnolia, the leaf of the magnolia, think of almost like rolled up like a cigar. It's almost like or a jam Swiss roll jelly roll. So what it is the leaf actually looks like this when it first starts, and it's right at the top like a shoot. And then what happens is the leaf, it basically becomes, it just unfolds, it unrolls, and that forms the leaf, okay? So we do this in white, like this, all right? So do this in white. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to then come in with a little bit of green and a little bit of chocolate here. All right, so using my green, because this would, and then we're just going to just brush this onto the top of the floral tape. So a little bit like when we did the bud. We're going to do the green all over this. Just as I just roll it, so you just get like a, and in this situation, because this would be the same for sugar or for, you know, air drying clay, because it's just done with floral tape. And so if you're doing, because we want to set the dust in powder, so if you're doing this in sugar, like your buds and your petals and whatever would be steamed, in air drying clay we're using the hairspray. All right, so I'm going to, so it almost looks a bit like a green bean. All right, so if you look at it, it looks a bit like, almost like a bean shape, like that. And then what we'll do is we'll take a little bit of brown, and then just going to just brush a little bit of brown at the bottom of this. So just going to almost like go over the top of that. So you just sort of, so because it's almost the same sort of color as the bud. Okay. So you see how you're going to sort of just make that sort of greeny brown color. And the brown, I'm going to be keeping that because we're going to be coming back with a little bit of additional color and things on there. All right, so what we're going to do is then I'm going to just sort of lightly spray this. All right, so remember you can either steam this or lightly spray this with hairspray, but what that's going to do is act as a fixative. I just also need to just spray my bud as well. So I'm just going to just spray my bud as well with the hairspray or steam. Okay, so remember, steam for sugar and hairspray for air drying clay. All right, so now what we're going to do is going to take some brown floral tape. All right, so I'm going to use some full width brown floral tape. Now there will be a diagram in your download, so this will show you all of this. But basically what we're going to do is going to take the 5 extra wires here, or the 4 extra wires to go on the existing one, and you're going to position those on the bottom of the curled leaf here. So they're just going to sort of sit like that, right at the end here, like so. Now you're going to take your floral tape. Again, just going to go around just a couple of times just to sort of get started. So it sort of fills in that sort of gap between the two. All right, and then you're going to come down about sort of 11.5 centimeters. All right, so you're just going to about 4.5 inches. So about to here, about 11.5 centimeters. But it's just, we do this final assembly with full width tape. All right, so nearly there. Okay, so you come down about 11.5 centimeters, about 4.5 inches, and then we're going to go up. So this is a little bit like how we did the cherry blossoms and things like that, where we're going to be making a, like almost a branch here, and then 3. I'm just going to do 5 here because we're using full width tape here, like that. We're just going to work that around, and again we're going to, because the magnolia has a very thick stem, natural stem, so again just going to just texture this. You can use like kitchen shears or wire cutters like this. It's going to create the nice texture on the magnolia. Okay, so this is a little bit of a process. You really want to have your chocolate brown there, and so then you're just going to put just a little bit of brown just right at the bottom. You can also do that. I usually find this easier to do as you go, so I'm just going to put a little bit of brown on the stem, but you see where that green and brown meat, I've got a little bit of chocolate brown here, like so. So this just gives you your, as I said, like your new growth there. All right, so then what we're going to do, so this will be sort of like the leaf here. So at this point here, all right, that is where the bud is going to sit. All right, so you're going to take your bud here. All right, and your bud. So again, when we do the bud, we're going to just, we've already got the 8 on here, so we're just going to just texture. I find it a little bit easier to do this prior to assembly, but you only need to come down about halfway down on here. And again, you can just take a little bit of brown here, just where the 2 meet, all right? So where the green, and then again, you can put just a little bit of brown just onto your stem here. All right, so we're just gonna take this. So this wants to sit about like this. So almost like the tip of the bud is gonna be where the bottom of that furled leaf is. Just gonna bend this up. All right, so your bud and your will go here like so. Using your half-width floral tape. And then at that point, if you have any area where it's smooth, you can just, but of course, this could also be dependent on how this is sitting here. So just gonna go around. And then we're gonna put in our 2 small leaves, all right? So remember, these have already been taped, they've already been textured into there. So you can just take your pair of pliers here. And I'm just going to have just a little bit of the stem visible there. I'm going to do the same on the other one there. And then we're going to take your magnolia leaf. So you see they're going to come from that same point. So remember, this is about 11.5 centimeters. Then your bud is almost about level with the top of, when you look at the top of there, you see it's about level with the there. And your leaves will just sit here like so. All right, so you're going to have a leaf here. Then you're going to have, and the other leaf is going to come the other side here, like so. So they're almost like sitting opposite each other. Again, we're going to go around with your floral tape. And then here we're going to come down. You need to just come down to the sort of about halfway down the wire. Again, you're going to come back up. Remember, this has already been sort of taped thicker, but just going to go, just a few times up and down here to give you a main stem. Using a veining tool, you're just going to just where the pieces meet. You see how what I'm doing here is I'm just blending. See, like where the little, like the stem meets there, I'm just blending that in. Just don't do it too hard though, because you don't want to break your Dresden tool, but your veining tool. But you see how then you're going to get that nice natural join. All right, so you literally just where the leaves meet there. And again, just going to get that nice. So as I say, with the air drying clay, most of the weight here is from the wire. Okay. So you see how you're going to get your wires here, like so. Again, just doing this as I go, because this I find a little bit easier. Again, we're just going to just use a little bit of brown dust onto here, just onto there. And again, if this was sugar, you would steam this. If this is air drying clay, I'm just going to spray this. I'm just doing this out of camera just to, because that's going to act like a fixative, and it's just going to set the dust. All right, so here you've got your first part of your magnolia. All right, and so about halfway down the total length of your wire, what's left there, we're going to just sort of bend that away from you. Now remember, it's going to be quite thick. So the best way to do that is to hold it and just push the wire away from you. So you see, this is very much like, when we do a lot of our projects, we have almost like the banana shape, but this is just going to be a little straighter. And then we're going to take your magnolia. Now, again, the magnolia, we're just gonna texture. Just going to texture about halfway down, and remember we've just put dust on here. So again, I'm just going to now just spray this again. But remember, whenever you use the dust, you're steaming it for sugar, or you're going to do that for your... And then you want to have a look at your magnolia. Just decide sort of where you want really almost like the front of the magnolia to be. I'm just going to bend that a little bit away from myself. And then my magnolia is going to sit here. So you see how my magnolia will sit here like this, all right? So you see how they're just where the two intersect. All right, you're going to go around with your floral tape here, full width tape, a couple of times just to sort of secure the magnolia in place. And remember, your bud is going to go there like so, all right? And then we're going to then take your leaves. So we're going to take the leaves here. Okay, so I'm going to have sort of a leaf each side of the wire. But the other thing with the air drying clay, you won't have the same fatigue in your hands and things because it's light. But even with working with the air, because you're holding your hands like this, you know, it's good to have a pillow there so you can like lay the magnolia down if you need to. So we're going to have the magnolia leaf will go here. And then the other magnolia leaf is going to sit the other side of the stem. You see, remember, we always work usually in odd numbers, all right? So you have the leaves here. So again, coming from the back there, you can see, and you'll have photographs that are going to show all the various areas of it. But you see how this is going to come up. So as you're adding each intersection, so then we're just going to go around just a couple of times with that. And then I'm going to have my final leaf is going to sit front. So that's going to sort of come out here like this. All right, so you see how you're going to have your front part will sit out like that. And again, we're going to come down. Now, of course, this would depend when you finish this off how this is going to be used. So if this is going to go into a cake, for example, if it was going to go into a cake, you pretty much have it going in. So this would be the surface of your cake here, all right? So the thing is that you can, of course, trim this because most cakes are usually, you know, 3 inches, 4 inches, so, you know, like 7.5 or 10 centimeters high. So this only needs to be about 4 inches. And you really don't need, other than about 2.5 centimeters after that, those 3 leaves, that's the only part really you need to be thicker. This can just be done thinner, all right? But if you're going to trim this off, all right, so, you know, this depends also because you might want to be using this into a tall vase, all right? So you might want this in a tall vase standing in. So, of course, you could leave these wires totally whatever length you want to. But it's easier to trim these at this point here because you can open them up as individual wires here. Just be careful of your eyes. Okay. Then the other thing is you can also, if you were putting this into a vase, you can actually like leave it like this. So when you put it into the vase, it actually almost will like sort of help to hold it into, it will sort of make it a little bit more stable. But remember, you know, you can use the little vase filler or other things like that. But anyway, so we're going to just tape down here. And I'm just going to come up. So I'm just going to do a few times with this. Okay, and then again, we're going to just use your tool here. Just really, as I said, just a question of like almost like where the stems meet. Now in some projects down the line, we're also going to be doing, I'm going to be showing you how to like cover stems with air drying clay and things, so that you have a, so you can actually sort of like cover the stem part over there, over the top. So when we do like the rose projects and things, I'm going to show you how to do. So everything then looks obviously the same. So again, you can just texture this, because this would be like in real life, the sort of natural thickness or thicker. And again, just the last little bit of brown on here. Now, of course, as you can imagine, you know, as I said, with the sugar wine, it's going to be a little bit heavier. So just as I said, just make sure you support it with your hand there. But also, if you're standing this up into a block of styrofoam, just be very, very careful, or a cake dummy, because you need something that's going to give support to this. Just need to just make sure you go in. This will just come off with. Also, if you do get dusting powders on plastic things, little tip I'll share, if you just take a little bit of vegetable fat shortening onto a tissue or whatever, that takes it off. So like if you, for example, had your rolling pin on your table when you're dusting flowers, because washing it, it doesn't usually come off like the plastic rolling pins, but a little bit of vegetable fat will do that. And again, you see how I'm just going to just brought a little bit of brown down here. And again, I'm just going to do the final hit with my hairspray or the sort of steamer. And this is just gonna. All right, and here is your, as I said, Magnolia Grandiflora, which is the southern magnolia. So really fantastic flower. I mean, this is all you need on a cake, but this is also beautiful. And as I said, this size is very approachable, because the life-size one, when I first made my actual one, which was 10 inches in size, you know, it was obviously, that one was, you know, 40 centimeters across. So you imagine that's like nearly double the size of this one. But this is a really nice size and stunning flower to use, as I said, for home decor, because this is all air drying clay in a vase. You could put this like in a grapevine wreath. So there's really many, many ways of using this. What we will be doing is in the next two parts of this project on the spring flowering trees, I'm going to be teaching you the dogwood. So dogwood is another very sort of, as I said, popular flower around Mother's Day, around Easter. And so as I said, I'm going to actually sort of show you the dogwood, and then I will actually show you at the end of taking the dogwood spray. So I'm going to have the dogwood spray is going to come from here. All right, so I'll have dogwood and I'll have a smaller spray coming up here. So if you wanted to combine the two of them, but this is really, as I said, a stunning flower in its own right. So really, as I said, it looks beautiful just as a single flower. So here we have the, as I said, Magnolia Grandiflora. I hope you will really enjoy making this project and obviously really enjoy it when it's finished. So I hope you've enjoyed part 3 of the Magnolia Grandiflora, the southern magnolia, and will enjoy making this stunning flower. Until next time, sweet wishes, see you soon, bye!